Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, we have created one of the middleware as a JWT middleware, and also here we checked it with our this new middleware, right? So that means the custom middleware, we checked it, and here we accept our login and sign up, and also we checked it, our login and sign up is perfectly now working. So now I want to do, friend, here we successfully logged in, and when you log in, then it's creating one of the access token, and that is a token type, right? So now I want to take this part, that means here I want to take our this token and I want to apply this token in our this login form. That means here if you want to put that appropriate email address and the appropriate password, I want to take these token details and here I want to apply it. So for doing this, we have to work in our this component. So here I load one of the component, right? So right now they have also our sidebar, the header. So laterally I will actually remove it. That means first of all you have to logging it. After that logging, you can access your sidebar and the header part. Okay. So we have to open our this component. That means a logging component that I have already created. So now we don't need this. So I don't need this. I just remove it. Okay. I also don't need this. So now we have to go to our resource, into the resource, that is our component, that is our auth component. Into the auth folder I have created our logging. So that is our logging page, that is our logging component. So I want to make the things as a PHP. Okay, perfect. And here they have one of the form, right? So into the form area, in Laravel we define that CSRF, right? So right now we don't need to use that CSRF because here I want to use it with our Vuejs. So here if you want to define that part, then first of all you have to define as @ as a submit. Okay, I just simply define as a submit, and then this submit I want to prevent it. So in Vuejs fundamental, I have already discussed about that things with you. Prevent means it will be not load this page. So I just simply define as a prevent. Okay, I just simply define as a prevent, and prevent what? Prevent our logging. So I just simply define our component as a logging. Okay friend, I hope you can well understand about it. So it should be submitted. So in our form it should be submitted. Here I prevent it. So that means this page will be not load. Which page? That means which component? I just simply define our logging component. Okay, and after that, that's all that our input field. So that is our two field as a email, and also that is actually the password. So for the email, first of all we have to get this. So we have to define that things with our v mode, that means a v model. So I just simply define as a v and the model. Okay, with this v model I have to define our form. So which form? So I just simply define our form, and our form, which field you want to get. So here I want to get our this form, our email. So here I just simply define our form email. Perfect. I hope it's very much clear to you. So now we have to do the same things. We have to do the same things for our password. So for the password, I just simply defining it. So there's a v model in our form, which field? Our password. So I just simply define that password. So friend, I think it's very much clear to you. So this v model is actually defining like that as a name, right? In Laravel we use it as a name, one of the field, and here we define that field name. So it's in Vuejs, if you want to use it, then you have to define that things with this v model. So with this v model you have to define your form, your field name. Perfect. So that is our email field, and that is our password field. So now here I define our submit prevent logging. So now I want to take it. So I want to take it in our that script area. So into the script area, first of all I want to define one of the data property, right? So I have already discussed about that things with you. That is our data property. Into the data property, here I want to define. So in particular that position, first of all I want to return it. So I just simply return, I just simply return our form. So I just simply define as a form. So I just simply define our return form, and here we have to define all that our field. So I have already defined our field. So here I have defined our form. You can see there is a form field as email and also the form password. So now I just simply define as email, and also there is another one as a password. So I just simply copy that password, and that is our form. Into the form, that will be as an email. So I just right now email will be as a null. Okay, and also I want to define our another field as a password, and for the password I also define as a null. I just simply define as a null. And also then I want to take one of the method. So if you want to create some of the method, what exactly you have to do? You have to define that method. So I just simply define our methods, and into the methods area I want to define one of the I want to take one of the method as a locking. So I just simply define as a locking method, and into the locking method, first of all, I define as a alert. Okay, I just simply define the alert, and here it should be display as a done. So this type of alert I want to define. So if you want to check it like better, first of all, I want to run our npm. Okay, like here in our inventory. So right now that is the I have already opened. So that means in our inventory here I want to run as npm run. So as I told you before, if you have any error, then first of all it should be notify you. Okay, so I just simply define as npm run watch. So I just simply define npm run watch. Now click on the enter. So now you can see it's now showing as a compiled successfully. So that means here right now it's done. So now I want to save it. Okay, so here I just click on the save all. So now let's check this out. Now you can see it's now showing all that error. So that is the error is passing as our this data. So here we have to actually I just started that things from to this data, and here I also define that method. So first of all here we have to export default. Okay, so here we have to define as export. We have to define as export default. So you have to define that export default, and into the export default you have to add your all the data and the methods. Okay, so now I just simply cut it from here, and in our export default here I want to paste it. Okay, so everything I want to paste it in particular that area, that means in our export default area. So now let's check this out. I just click on the save all again. I just click on the save all and check our compile again. So I want to run it again. Yes, now you can see it's now perfectly compiled, and this is total successful. That means they have no error. So now it should be work. Like I just click on the save all again and go to our project. I just refresh it. So now here I want to put some of the inappropriate username, and then I just define as a gmail.com, and I just put some of the password and click on the login. You can see it's now redirected to our index.html because of all maybe I didn't add like you can see there is a logging button. Into the logging button I just put one of the href as an index.html. You can see, so here I want to define another button, not the href. Okay, so I just remove it. I just define as a button. I just simply define another button, and here I want to finish that button. So I just simply define that finish button, and into the button here I want to define that class. So here there is our class as a btn, and also into the button area I want to define one of the types. So here I define as a type will be as a submit type, right? So friend, I think you already know about it. So I just simply define as a type submit, then class, and the logging. So now click on the save all again. Check our compiled. Yeah, it's perfect. So now go here, go back, refresh it again. I just put some of the inappropriate username and the password. Click on the login. Yes, now you can see now our this alert is perfectly visible. That means here I define one of the method. So there is a logging method. That means our this logging method is appropriately working, and here I define one of the alerts. So that is our alert done. Now you can see it's now showing our alert done. So friend, I think it's very much clear to you right now. So now here I want to put that action. Okay, right now I want to put that action. So right now we don't need this, and into the logging area I want to define, I have already add one of the method. So that is our logging method. So now I want to access it. So here if you want to access it, I have already defined one of the URL. So that is our method, and that should be as a post method, right? So if you want to pass that data, then you have to pass it with the XJS. Okay, so XJS is the one of the media. So with this media I want to pass it. So now first of all I want to define that part. So here in our logging method area I define as the XJS. Okay, into the XJS here I want to define our post method. So here I want to pass that our request, and else, that means here if you want to define as a then, so you have to define that as a then what exactly you should be do, and else if what exactly you should be do. Okay, so it should be in Vuejs, it's write down as a catch. So I hope you can well understand about it. In the fundamental I have discussed about that things with you. So that is our XJS post. That means there have some of the actions. If this action applied, then what exactly it should be do, and else so what exactly it should be do. Okay, that means that then, and if we didn't get any data, then it should be display some of the error message in our cache area. Okay, that means the else and the else if. So here I just define two of these. So now friend, understand this clearly. What exactly it should be do? Like that is our logging method. Into the logging method I pass that request. So for the reasons if you want to pass that request, you have to define that as the Axios. So with this Axios I want to pass our post method, and into the post what exactly we did. Like if you go to our postman, into the postman you can see when we access our logging, then what exactly we define our API, right? Into the API there is a auth, then our logging, right? So that is our URL. So here we have to pass it. So I just simply copy it. So for the reasons before I checked it on here, so right now we will apply it. So now I just simply copy our this path. So now in our post here I just simply pass our path, that is the API, and then the auth, and then the login. Okay, so here we have to define with the single quote, right? So here I just passed it and pass our which data. So here we have to pass our data, right? Before I pass our data with this, that means here I just define with our form and the undercoded. Into the undercoded I pass our email field data and the password data, right? So now I want to pass it. So here if you want to pass it, then what exactly we have to do? Here I have already defined our form as an email, and also I define as a password, right? So into the form password I have already defined one of the property, that is our form property. Here I define our two of this object as the email and the password. So now I want to access our this property. So if you want to access it, then what exactly you have to do? In fundamental I have already discussed about that things with you. If you want to access this property, you can access it with this, right? With this our property name as a form. So I just simply added that form. That means with this form we can now access all that our email and also our password value, that the value I just pass that things from here. So that is our form model. I just simply define that name, right friend? I hope it's very much clear to you. So now I just pass our this logging, that means our URL. With this I just pass all that our form data. So I just simply pass it, and then I want to check it. So if you want to check it, then if you can check it with the REST, that means the response. If you want to check that response, so I just define that response. And also first of all I want to check it with our console mode. So I just simply define as a console. Okay, console our log. So with the log console I want to display our this response. So I just simply define as a response and all that our data. Okay, so here I want to check it, and then also here we have to defining it. So that means this response I want to pass check it with our console log, and here our response will be visible, our data will be visible. And else if you want to display that error, then you can also do that work. So better I just copy it, and here I just paste it, and here I want to display our error. Okay, I just simply define that error in our console. I want to display our console error. So here we have to defining it. So if you want to define that error, then you have to define as a error, and into this error here you have to define that response. Okay, that means our this response as a response. So I just simply define as a response our this data. Okay, so that's two of this will be visible. So here I think it should be very much clear to you. Every line should be very much clear to you. So if we get it appropriate data, then it should be returned some of the response. So that is a response data will be visible, and else it should be also display that error data. Okay, so now friend, let's check this out. I just click on the save all, check out our compile. So yeah, it's now perfectly updated. So right now there is a time is perfectly updated, they have no error. So now I want to check it. So now if you open it, like I just refresh it again, and now I want to open our console mode. So I just open that impact and go to that console, because here I want to check it with the console, right? For the reasons you can say, I just define as a console log. So with the console log I want to check it. So first of all here I want to define some of the inappropriate email address. Okay, inappropriate email address and the password. Now if you click on the login, now you can see it's now showing as an error as a unauthorized. So this unauthorized message I have already checked. I have already checked that things in our postman, right? So this message actually comes from our which method? It comes from our logging method. Into the loggings they have some of the credential. First of all, it's when this our username, that means the email address, and the password when it should be wrong, then it should be displayed this error message as a unauthorized. So for the reasons, now you can see it's now showing as a unauthorized. So if you want to change that message, you can also change it. Like here I want to change it, like here I name it as an email. Okay, email or password. password invalid. So this type of message I just simply define. So now click on the save all. I just click on the save all, and now I want to refresh it again. Okay, and here I define some of the inappropriate username and the password. Click on the login. Yes, now you can see it's now showing as email or password is invalid. That means we perfectly getting our this error, right? So we successfully get that error. And also if you put that appropriate username and password, then what exactly we checked? When you put that appropriate email address and the password, then it should be display our this token, right? So that is the things same things I just apply in our that method. That means in our logging method. Here you can see I just apply our this URL with our all that form data, that means email form data and the password data. So here I have already checked everything with our postman, so now it should be visible like that way. Now I want to check it, like here I define our appropriate our ID, that means the admin@gmail.com. so I just simply define as the admin, and also password I define as the admin. And now if you click on the login, yes, now you can see now it's showing our access token. So that is the things, is the same things. You can see in Postman we checked it, right? There is the access token, there is a token type and the expired in. So it's same things. That is our access token, the token type and the expired in. So friend, here we successfully generated our access token, right? I hope it's very much clear to you, friend. So friend, here one thing, that we are using that Vuejs, and into the Vuejs when you create another page, then first of all here which will be loaded all that our component. But here if you refresh that page, then automatically our this token will be changed, right? So now with this token we have to log in. So if you refresh it, automatically this token will be changed. That means we cannot log in. So we have to save this token. We have to save this token in our application, into the application. Here you can see there is one of the storage, and into the storage that is our path. So right now we are using that path. So into this path area we have to save our this token. Okay, so here we have to save it, and also we have to put some of the authentication. And then if you want to add the different component, then with the same token we can log in. Okay, so we have to define that part. So friend, I think right now we are successfully logging. We generated our token with our appropriate email address and the password. Everything I think should be very much clear to you. It's so much relevant that we did in our postman, right? So right now, as I told you before, first of all here we'll check it, and now I want to apply it in our this real project. So friend, don't worry, step by step everything will be more clear to you. So in our next video, I want to save our this token in our application, in our local storage. Here I want to save it with using some of the validation. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.